Hey everyone, welcome back to Hunters Connect. In today's episode, I'm going to be covering the basics of Google Earth and how it can be used to your advantage when it comes to scouting online from the comfort of your home. Now, boots on the ground scouting is always encouraged, as that's how you're going to really learn the way of the land. But Google Earth is basically the next best thing, as you can really dive into some spots and get a lay of the land before you even get there. So let's hop onto the computer and I'll show you guys a thing or two. So first things first, obviously if you don't have Google Earth already, you're going to want to download it. And luckily, Google Earth is completely free. So you're going to want to search for Google Earth. I searched for Google Earth Pro. And Google Earth Pro is going to be the version I would recommend downloading for your desktop. But if you do go to explore Google Earth, like here, there's this option here where it's just earth.google.com. You can go ahead and use a web browser version. And you don't have to download anything. You can just hop right onto the internet. And as long as you have internet access, you'll have Google Earth here in the web browser. But I will suggest, if you do plan on using Google Earth often, and it's going to be something you're going to utilize quite a bit, I would go ahead and suggest downloading that Google Earth Pro desktop version. You're going to get more features. It's going to just altogether, it'll be a nicer experience. So here at the Google Earth website, that's going to be google.com/earth/versions. So you're going to want to go ahead and click on Google Earth Pro for the desktop download and then download the Pro version right here. So when you first open up the application, you'll usually be like this little startup tips box will pop up, and this will actually give you a little tutorial and show you how to do different things. And you can choose to show this every time you hop on or not. I usually just close it out. So I'm going to start off with just showing you guys the basic navigation features on how to move around, how to look around, and how to get around here on Google Earth. So as you can see here, I am zooming in. I went from the whole world picture to now hovering right over some mountains and some forest. Now, how I'm doing that is on my mouse, there is a scrolling wheel. So if your computer mouse has the scrolling wheel, you can just go in and out with that wheel. Scroll it one way to go in, the other way to go out. Otherwise, they have these navigational tools here in the top right corner. Now, as you can see, this first one is your zoom in and out. So you'll scroll in, pull this bar in, it's going to zoom you in, pull it out, so zooming out. So the next feature to get around here on Google Earth is to just kind of click and drag. Now this will scoot you around the ground here. As you can see, I click and hold, and then drag, and whatever direction you're dragging your mouse is where you're going to drag your screen around. And again, you have the option to do it. See this little hand in the top right corner here? You can go ahead and grab the hand, and then I'm clicking and holding on the hand and then just sliding my mouse around, and now it's going wherever my mouse is going. The most crucial and biggest reason why I use Google Earth is this feature up here in the top right corner, and that's going to be the vantage point you're looking at basically. So if we go back over here to some more mountainous terrain, you could go ahead and grab this eye. And now look at this. Now we're spinning around, getting different angles. So if I go ahead and back up here, now I'm getting these different angles on this slope here. We can zoom in, get a little closer to the ground, pull this eye up, and now we really can see how steep and big these mountains are. Again, I'll get a little closer to the ground, pull this eye up, and now look at these peaks up in the background. The peaks we were now hovering up above, we are now dang near close to the valley floor, and you can see how rugged this terrain really is. And that's a big benefit when using Google Earth, is really just getting these angles you're not going to see on an overview or bird's eye view of a map. You can really get down into these nooks and crannies, get onto certain areas you might think would be a good glassing point, and just start scanning around. Another really cool thing about Google Earth is sometimes you'll notice these little emblems. And if you click on them, they'll actually be photos that people have taken and uploaded of that specific location. Now this might not be the greatest example because this is kind of, looks to be like a ski hill of some sort, but if we back up, and you can see all these dots start appearing, and these are all photos that people have taken. So it really gives you an added perspective and different view than you're going to get in other places. So you're going to get some really cool on the ground first person views of that area. Now not all areas will have them, especially if you're looking in a more remote country that people aren't visiting that much. But as you can see in this particular area, a lot of people are hiking and doing cool things. And it's funny because most of these photos are coming from people who are kind of just recreating in the backcountry and not hunting. Because as you know, hunters aren't likely to give away their spots. So the general public who likes to just hike around and share their experiences can definitely help you guys out just by the photos they're posting. So let's jump into some of the tools that I really like to use when using Google Earth that help me get a better idea of what I'm looking at when I'm scouting a spot for a hunting situation. So as you can see, we have this great big basin here, high country basin. And what I'll start off with here is up in the top left, as you see, you have these different tools. So starting off with common one to use is just your place marker. So you can click on that, and what you could do is you go ahead and grab it and drag it around. So say like I plan on camping up above this basin, and this is where I chose I wanted to camp. So we're gonna call it camp. So then you have this detailed box here where you can go ahead and type a description in and put whatever notes you want to do in there. Then you can come over here to your style and color, and let's see, right now it looks like a yellow, but if I do this, let's see, turn the text to green. Okay, so that's, yeah, the text. You can do this, turn that to red, I guess, and there you go. You have your camp location, and then you could turn the scale up and make it real big or a lot smaller, and it goes also for the text. And you can go ahead and change the opacity, and that's a basic overview of what you can do with your waypoints. So the next tool I want to show you guys is the path tool, and it does exactly what you might think it does, and you can create path lines. So for example, we zoom in, you can see a road here. Say you wanted to mark your road in or mark a trail that you plan on hiking. You can go ahead and start plotting the points out, or you can click and drag and pull it through, do whatever you please to designate your path that you plan on taking. And of course you can come in here. I usually like to make it more of a vibrant color, and then go ahead and make it thicker, just so it's easier to see, especially when you pull out a little to a farther view. So that would be a path right there. But another thing I like to do with this tool is plot out property boundaries. So I'm going to show you an example of what I've done in the past. On the left here, you can see that camp point we made is right here. So everything you create utilizing these tools will show up in the left column here. If you click on it, it'll take you to that exact point. So I'm going to click on this where it says untitled path. A lot of these I don't even label. But for example, here's a property boundary that I have previously marked using the path tool. And this one wasn't necessarily hunting related, but I have used them for hunting in the past. Like if I was hunting a spot that was bordering private land, I would go in and get the waypoints of each corner of the private property boundary and go in and plot them using the path tool. And like you can see here, it gives you a very cool 3D look at the boundary, and it really gives you a good idea of how that boundary looks for when you get out there. And that's just one of my favorite ways to use that path tool, is to create property boundaries. And a little later on in this video, I'll show you another way to get property boundaries, but this way is a little tedious, but it's just a way that I found that works for me, and I really like it. So we're going to travel back over into the mountains. Let's go back to our camp. So say this is where we're planning on hunting. We're doing a high country hunt here. So glassing is going to be a really substantial part of the hunt. A feature that I've really come to like is, especially for an area you've never been to before, is using this tool up here, which is the sunlight. So go ahead and click on that sunlight and go to a place and start scrolling this here sunlight tool. And now we can see where that first light is going to start hitting. Granted, if it's the cloud cover is going to play a role in this, but if it's a clear day, this is going to give you a good idea of how things will look. And while we have that sun shining and stuck at this angle, we can always hop in here, move around, and get different looks. So my preference is, as the sun's starting to come up, I like to start glassing into those spots that the sun are shining. So as you can see, the sun is now up, 7 o'clock. You can still see there's still pockets of shade, so it might give you an idea of where these animals are going to be retreating to the shade once that sun starts to beat on them. It's just knowing how that sun is going to play out throughout the day is just another awesome benefit for a hunting situation. And again, you just keep scrolling and through that sunlight process throughout the day, and of course you hit high noon, everything's pretty much in the sun, but it does give you an idea of where that sunlight shines. And then now that we get into the evening, you can see that shade is starting to pick back up again, which is really cool and good to know for that evening hunting session. So we'll get another view of it, come down here just to kind of give you a more overview of all of this area. And now we're going to hold it on again, and there she goes. Starting to get dark out, and you can see what spots are going to be in the most shade throughout the evening and what spots are the last little spots of light on the mountain. So the next tool I want to talk about is the ruler tool. Again, you'll find it up in the top corner. Click on Show Ruler. It's going to open up the little box down here. Now, I use this tool to determine routes or possible routes to get to my potential spots. So for example, we have our camp located up at the top of this mountain. I'm gonna now try to determine, okay, what's my most favorable route to get to that camp? So we're gonna open up the ruler. What I like to do is click on Path, and then I'll go ahead and choose miles. If it's a short path, maybe if I'm looking for like shooting lanes or other things like that, then I'll turn it on to yards. But for a long hike in, I'll do miles. We got a road down here. So we're going to start on the road, and this might not be the most realistic because I'm just going to kind of go through this pretty quick. But as you can see, I start clicking, and this is kind of the general route I'm going to want to take. So we're going to go up, kind of come up this spined edge here, go up, and then we're going to come up the top of here. Go through this open timbered section. And what the path option does is it hugs the ground. Rather than doing line of sight or like as the crow flies line, it's going to hug the ground as if you were walking. So boom, right up to camp. Now we got this long path. You can see that's 2.5 miles. But what I really like this tool to do is to see our elevation. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back down to the box here and highlight the Show Elevation Profile. We're going to highlight that, and this is where we're really going to get the answers we want to see. It's going to automate a view like it hovered up above camp here. That's not the most favorable view for me, so I'm going to click and drag, and I want to get lower again and kind of almost look at it from the route we came up. So now this is a little bit better. I like this view a little bit better. You get in the idea. You start in the valley below at the road, and we hiked all the way up into camp. But what's really cool about this is now we can see the elevation gain. How much elevation are we gaining in these 2.5 miles? And you can run your mouse cursor across this graph down here, and it's going to show you all the elevation gain. And it's while you're running your mouse across this graph down here, as you can see on the actual map, the arrow is showing you right exactly where that point is and what the exact feet is and what mile you're at, which is really helpful. So you can see where those really steep parts are going to be and what areas are going to be more gradual. So it's obviously right up in this spot, it flattens out. You almost kind of go back downhill a little bit on the route you take. And once you have these points laid out and say you want to adjust your route, you can go ahead and click on these points and re-drag them around. Or you can just altogether say scratch that and make a new one, or you can save it and start weighing out the different options you have. So that is going to be a tool that I'm using almost every time I'm using Google Earth, at least for more mountainous terrain. It's just very helpful to see what exactly I'm going to be getting myself into when I'm hiking up these paths that I think are going to work out. So the last thing I want to talk about here are some options when it comes to downloading some extra features that may help you. Now, for example, if we go over here, we have all the different paths and waypoints I've created. If you see this one, it's got the Google Earth logo next to it, and it says Montana land ownership. So there's actual downloadable Google Earth files that you can find online and download them to the app, and they will allow you to do something like I'm about to show you. So if we're going to go ahead and click the on button here for Montana land ownership. Now you can see we have a whole bunch of overlays over Montana here. As you can see, there's the border between Montana and Wyoming, because this is a Montana only download. But what it's showing you here is the land ownership. So our green is going to be national forest, public land. The blue is going to be state land, and this yellow here will be our BLM. So it really helps you decipher your public and private land. But as you can see, you can utilize additional downloads to go ahead and show you private and public land boundaries, which is really helpful because when you don't have this on, it's very hard to decipher what you're looking at in terms of public or private land. So I hope you guys are able to learn a thing or two when it comes to the navigating around Google Earth and how you can utilize it to scout for hunting locations and just get a better idea of the lay of the land. If you guys would like to see a more detailed approach on how you can utilize Google Earth to scout for specific species, let us know down in the comments and we'll start putting together a video for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching Hunters Connect.